Hello, this is Augusta University student Aaron Price, and as our last video for the website, we're going to look into the Neverwinter companion video. A massive multiplayer online, known as MMO game, that became free-to-play years ago, and it serves as a great example of some of the big dangers in terms of psychological behavior research that's been done to keep gamers addicted and spending money that they do not need to. Alright, so as we're going through this video, you'll see several different factors that play into this problem. Now, that being said, the game does adhere to the free-to-play model, at least loosely. And what I mean by that is it is totally free to download. And as of current, as I just re-downloaded this game to check, the extra content that's released is also free, which is nice. But unfortunately, MMOs like this were some of the first games that started going free to play because they could not compete with larger franchises like World of Warcraft. In the MMO realm, World of Warcraft is a monster and generating millions of dollars a year, and it has adopted a light free-to-play, such as like Destiny is going towards, where the base game to a certain point is free, and then after that you have to start paying, and you also pay monthly fees for a full-blown MMO like World of Warcraft. But as we've already discussed in the homepage, those kinds of games are not discussed in this site so much because they're easily seen as not really free-to-play. It's more of like a very generous demo that eventually you have to start paying for the rest of the game. And so as you notice with this game, there's no login reward, so they don't use the mechanism of keeping you coming back in that terms. This sticks with the tried and true MMO that they know people who are going to be into the game, especially this game Neverwinter is based on Dungeons & Dragons lore. So there are thousands upon thousands of fans who want to play the game just for that. Mix in the fact that it has come to consoles and PC with some cross-platform play. I believe they still have that implemented as of now. And it creates a great user base. And there's also many things that you can do in the game. There are many powers. You can have your own companion to help you play by yourself. And so there's a lot of incentive to keep you going. But there's also many things that keep you hindered, that keep you locked down. You notice I'm going through different things like the mounts and these different items. And before I go further, I want to preface this that Neverwinter, above all games, is the first time that I realized myself what companies were doing to me as a player, and I started developing my own techniques to avoid it. It was only after giving the game up that I really thought back on it and realized these things. This is one of the reasons I wanted to make this today. Hopefully, in some ways, you out there can avoid this same thing happening to you. Now, I want to first talk about, as you saw the screen previously, about a Dragonborn. And that's one of the things that doesn't even come with the standard game. And it actually doesn't offer anything to the game either. There's no benefit to having it, and yet it costs a fair amount of extra money. And then the other thing you can notice as you're going through here, there are item levels, and then in fact there you see an overall item level on my character. This is one of the things that really hinders the player and urges them in terms of getting money later, because up to level 70 you can play the game free and you can have a lot of fun, and it takes a while, and so it is a good experience in terms of that. And you don't meet much challenge along the way. It's moderate and fair and going on. But then when you reach the end game, as it's called, where you want to start defeating the actual bosses of the game and gaining more powerful gear, you find that you are woefully underleveled. And that you can see different lists here. Those are all requirements necessary to get different kinds of upgraded gear. And so there have been some PC players that you can actually research and find. They found out that it would take months upon months upon months to legitimately farm these things and get the gear. But that's because they added the time in. When they went to the free-to-play model, they made it harder to earn these items in the game, and instead started doing things like you see here. There's these VIP ranks. So instead of the game being paid monthly like they used to have, now it's free, quote unquote, but you can pay for VIP access and get these benefits that go all the way to rank 12. And this makes it very, very compelling and draws people in, because not only do you get huge boosts for yourself, but you begin to get boosts to your party, and people want you in their party. And just so you know, for 1 year of the max benefits of rank 12 would cost the player at least $100 just for those benefits. And the other thing they do is, when I said they increase the time for farming, is that they implemented these special gems into the game that you can only buy through the auction house unless you earn them in game, which again they increase the time. And these gems cost such a large amount of premium currency to either get or using to translate into other currencies that you have to spend a large amount of money. And in fact, when I quit playing was because I finally realized what was going on, and I had friends who wanted to keep playing the game, and they paid several $100s to buy the currency so that they could buy the gems, because no one else would play with them since their power level was not high enough, or I should say item level, because that is this game. And there is an example of purchasing Zen, that is the premium currency. And furthermore, there's no way to earn this premium currency in the game. Now you can transfer in-game currency at the rate of 1 Zen for 551 of the in-game crystals. To give you some background to that, after several months of playing back years ago when I did play, I accrued only 220,000. Sounds like a lot, but that roughly translates to 399 coins, which is not enough to buy even a single tier, a rank of the VIP access, or anything else in the game. Other limiting factors are inventory space. There are limits on your inventory. There are limits on your bank, all which can be bought extra with real money. There are limits to certain healing items. There are limits to what you can do in terms of teleporting to other characters. So a game like this, much different the other games we've covered, because there is a lot of virtual space to move around. The cities are large, the landscapes are large, and so it takes a long time to go from point A to point B unless you spend money on what are called mounts, because your free mount is very slow and barely faster than the characters running. But the ones you can buy will have some 150, 200% increases, and they also implement very cosmetically appealing, or I guess you could say aesthetically appealing mounts that players really want, especially if their favorite YouTuber or just looks really cool. And those, of course, are going to be the higher end. Some of them only come out of special boxes that are very expensive to buy, and other systems like that. So you have a limit on inventory, you have a limit on abilities and refreshes. Those who pay money get a lot of benefits. They get released from crafting limitations and daily resets and all these different things. And so even though this is not a PvP centered game, there's a very real pay to win structure going on that appeals to a lot of players. And this is one of the biggest reasons to be careful with a game like this. And MMOs that go free to play in general, if you do a little bit of research, you will find that the MMOs, Black Desert, Neverwinter, and others, when they go to the quote-unquote free to play, they develop a very heavy pay to win structure. And one of the things I'd like to look into there, Black Desert is actually supposed to be coming to console. I don't have the ability to review it in that sense for PC as of right now. But that's something that I look to adding in the future, possibly, because it is very rampant with their pay-to-win structure from what I've read briefly on posts from people who have spent thousands of hours in the game itself. And right here we see just an example of going through the auction house, and we're going to actually find some examples of how it's kind of tricky in this game that works. Even though you don't see gold directly being required to buy something, what you will notice is that the items, which are very sought after, will be such a high diamond amount that without nearly a year's worth of grinding, you can't really buy unless you buy premium currency and then translate that into the in-game. So 399 coins would translate to my 220,000 currency. And you can see where, as you're spending money to get 10,000 coins, you could easily make the coins you need to buy a lot of these in-game items. And that's the way they do it. It's a little even trickier. Instead of making you pay real money for it, oh, it's in-game currency, but you'll never earn it. You need to buy the real currency and then translate it. It's what many of the players ended up doing, especially in the beginning of the game. And these boxes, and ironically, the prices have not really changed whatsoever since I stopped playing over 2 years ago. These are still some of the same things that people wanted back then, and the same prices they're selling them for. And even the transfer rate on the money is actually still the same as well. And so even though the game is free to download, and even though this video doesn't go too in depth to the a lot of the gameplay to show some things, because unfortunately the game was very choppy when I re-downloaded it and tried to get into it, so it made it a little frustrating to make the videos. Everything was clunky, and many systems have changed that made it to where I was going to have to relearn certain things, but the core of the problems are still right there. The prices, the bad economy, the limit in your inventory, the limiting the player to make it to where it's hard to progress without spending money. Because you need those inventory spots, you need those things to be an actual effective player, otherwise you're going to be severely handicapped. And to avoid that handicap, you spend your money. Alright, well, that brings us to the end of the Neverwinter video. I hope that you found it informational. Again, any extra information will be in the body of text. And thank you for watching, and have a good day.